In the winter of the year 2025, the evil bird concocted an evil ploy to justify an evil claim. That she was the Shintarocraft lore keeper. That she remembered more things about people than they remembered about themselves. She released an evil quiz, the first ever Shintarocraft lore quiz. With questions so difficult and bait options so devious, the evil test was supposed to be impossible to pass. Yet someone managed to not only pass, but achieve a perfect score of 100. Unfazed and determined to be the evilest evil bird to have ever eviled, on December 20th, 2025, a second quiz hit the server. And now, after 5 long months of delays and procrastination, the explanation video is finally here. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Shintarocraft Lore Quiz 2.
That was amazing.
Alright, I think that should be pretty much everything. Let me know if you need anything else.
Oh. You didn't see anything. Anyways, before I jump into the questions, I gotta say, this video is not the same video I wanted to produce all the way back in January. Apart from procrastination and real-life obligations, other major factors also contributed to the delay. First, I was waiting for someone to try the quiz. Then, I wanted to wait for a quiz reaction video. And then, certain events in late January derailed the entire plan to produce this video along with the release of Quiz 3, and also necessitated removing and rewriting part of the script. So, here we are. Unfortunately, a lot of the stuff I wanted to mention are lost to memory. I would have talked about people's reactions to the quiz, but it's been too long, and I kinda regret not taking notes back then. But yeah, anyway, what happened, happened. I can still share the answers and whatever I do remember about Quiz 2. Okay, with that being said, let's go over the questions one by one. Question 1. What is Weevil? And the answer is all of the above. Like with Quiz 1, I decided to start with some easier questions. 2 of these options should make the answer pretty clear. Most active players back in December know about the Weevil poster, which I built as map art with the help of Kenny, Trainer, and Red, and we spread them everywhere across the server. Most players also know that Weevil is actually Evil Weevy. So, if you know that these 2 options are true, you would choose all of the above. And as you can see, most people got the right answer. The first option here, a zombie piglin, is relatively trickier, but if you had searched Weevil in the Discord back then, you would have come across a poll made by Jess back in September. She needed a name for a baby zombie piglin jockey that she had captured at the Gold XP farm, and Weevil ended up winning the poll, so the Gold Farm zombie piglin is also named Weevil. Red. Why did you choose a poster? You, of all people, should know that Weevy is Weevil. You could have at least chosen a player for your answer. I am so disappointed. Question 2. Who got the vanilla dragon egg? And the answer is DC. It is relatively common knowledge that DC took the vanilla dragon egg and allegedly either burned it or kept it in his ender chest. This story has been brought up many times, most often when someone spots a creative mode dragon egg on display and asks about it. However, if you have never heard about this, there is still a way to find an answer. If you search the term dragon egg in the Discord, you might have come across this conversation where DC confirms himself that he has the original dragon egg. As for the other options, and by the way, all the names I use in the options are actual Shintarocraft players, just pulled from various different eras of the server. Anyway, I chose these names for a reason. Staple45294 is a player from the earliest days of Shintarocraft, as you might have guessed if you tried searching their name on Discord. Blueswill is a day 1 player who also tried to speedrun the end. I included his name as bait, because if you didn't know the answer and had to guess, you might have thought that this unfamiliar name was included for a reason and gone with it. At LEGO, everyone knows LEGO is a day 1 player, and he did own the only dragon egg on the server for a while, so I expected him to be a reasonable guess. And I was right. Most of the people who didn't choose DC went for LEGO instead. But nah, LEGO's egg is a creative mode dragon egg that he won in the first Hunger Games event. Question 3. Who is Kate's first pumpkin guy victim? And the answer is Haku. Look at the results. It's so funny that so many people got baited into choosing Jopio. I mean, Jopio is the most well known for being the pumpkin guy. He even has a video Pumpkin Guy Returns on his channel. But if you remembered this happening or happened to search with the right keywords, you'd find this screenshot that I posted on Discord about putting a pumpkin head on Haku. Or, as Rex mentioned in his Quiz 2 video, an alternative way to spot the answer is if you happen to see this line in the chat in my Jopio Pumpkin Guy video. The line, not as funny as Haku's though. And then you'd be able to guess that Haku's pumpkin guy came before Jopio's. So anyway, Haku's pumpkin was on September 20th. Jopio's was on September 28th, as you can see in the description of the video on my channel. Weevy's pumpkin came a couple weeks later on October 9th, while Blueswill... Okay, that was a bait option entirely. Some people know that I knew Blueswill from before Shintarocraft, so like the previous question, they might think, surely this option is here for a reason, right? Especially because this option also appeared in the last question, right? I'm so evil. Question 4. What color is Jace's locator bar dot? And the answer is magenta. This isn't really that common knowledge because Jace doesn't log in very often, and when he does, it's usually long after most people have gone to sleep. If you have never seen the color in person, your best bet will be to check LEGO's Hunger Games video, where at 3 minutes and 8 seconds, you'll see that Jace's dot is magenta. Rex, if you're watching this, you were so close. You had the right direction, but the answer was just in the first few minutes of the video and not in the middle. And unfortunately, that cost you 5 points. Question 5. How many spawners are there in Kate's AFK key farm? And the answer is 27. This one is also relatively easy because the answer is very easily researchable. Just search key farm on Discord and the only search result has the answer. 17 is the number of spawners in my public trial chambers farm. 23 and 24 are the number of spawners in some other trial chambers that I considered for the auto key farm, such as one of Jopio's. Question 6. Where can you find this player head on the map? And the answer is the medieval build plot in an obscure corner of one of the church builds. Heesburger was an option because if you figured out the original owner of this then exclusive head through Discord messages and know that he built this place, it would have been a reasonable guess. Or you might have come across a video on Discord showing that the head was obtained at this location and guessed that the head could be placed there. RIP should also be a reasonable guess because this player used to live there. Although, to be honest, you could just visit all 3 locations and search thoroughly to find the head, which leads to the last option. If you had tried searching on the server and failed to find the head, you might have decided that the head probably didn't exist on the server and chosen the last option. Really, it's so funny that more people chose this bait option over the correct answer. Since the release of Quiz 2 though, things have changed. Back when I first made the quiz, this head was pretty much exclusive, but since then, it has become quite common, and there are a few locations and player head walls that display multiple copies of this head. However, the correct answer here is still the medieval build plot because I don't count things that happened after the release of the quiz. Question 7. What is the name of the Sniffer King? The answer to this one is Snifficus. If you've ever visited the Spawn library and checked out the books in Section C for player-written books, you might have come across The Tomb, written by Beef. On the first page, it says, "The Sniffer King known as Snifficus was too powerful." And that's the answer. This is the intended source for this question. As for the other options, Sniffy is the name of the fake sniffer at my base. Snuffles is the name of Lego's fake sniffer, and also a real sniffer at Beef's giant sniffer base. The intention was for someone to fall for these two options because they might have remembered seeing these names on the server. Oh, and semi-related, but I'm pretty sure this build is the tomb mentioned in Beef's book. Because look at this guy. This sniffer is called Snifficus, and he's buried inside this giant sniffer tomb. Yeah, anyway, the last option, Sniffless, is a completely made-up name. As far as I know, there aren't any sniffers named Sniffless on this server. Question 8. Who built this? This question was directed at Lego because in his End Portal Room building stream, he did a world tour and he thought that this unclaimed house belonged to a player called Wiry Magician because it's basically right next to his original base in the swamp. But it actually belongs to Beef. And here's a funny thing, Beef was watching the stream at the time and kept saying in YouTube chat that the house was his, but Lego didn't see it at the time, so I decided to put this question in the quiz. I put Jess as an option because she lived close enough for it to be plausible, and I also put Blueswheel because, why not? Maybe if someone sees the name Blueswheel enough times, they might try to choose Blueswheel for one of the questions, thinking why else would this guy be an option if he wasn't the right answer for at least one of them? Anyway, Lego's stream was the intended source for this question. However, someone figured out the correct answer in a way I didn't expect at all, and I was really impressed. They went around analyzing build styles and nearby materials and builds, and concluded that the house must belong to Beef for being so close to Beefsburg, and because of the block usage. It has frog lights, which is found in most other Beef builds on the server. It has diorite and mossy cobblestone, which is also used a lot in Beefsburg. And it also uses warped wood, while the Beefsburg nether portal leads to a warped forest. So, it only makes sense that Beef is the one who built this house. Question 9. Who built this? Referring to the White House build near my base. And the answer is Elixiruni, or more well known as the Kevin with a Skylar profile picture on Twitter. Kevin built the White House all the way back in April 2024, but after the claim deletion incident, he never reclaimed the White House, leaving it unclaimed for a long time. Which leads to one of the bait options. If you have visited the build and checked the claim owner in December, you would have seen that it was claimed by a player called Toast, and in my opinion, it is very plausible that he would build something like that, considering certain other builds on the server. Likewise, DC is an option for the same reason of plausibility, considering the existence of X Tower. As for Staple, I just put him in for no particular reason. Like with Blueswheel, maybe someone would see the name Staple appear multiple times and think that he must be the right answer for at least one question. Question 10. What has Energy Ninja not crashed out over? And yeah. I really put 16 options. I wanted to get all the options out because I think putting the same question again on the third quiz makes the joke stale. But yeah, all of these except crops unrooting due to lack of light actually did happen. Let's take a look. Missing wood. Back in March 2024, when the server first started, someone took wood from Energy's unclaimed base and he had crashed out over the incident on Discord. Missing totems. Back in September 2025, when like 8 people gathered to do raids at Matt's raid village, Energy apparently had totems taken from his shulker box, and that led to a fight and a crash out. A sign. This is the same incident as the missing wood. The culprit left a sign that Energy got mad about. Someone looking at his Enderman. This one doesn't have a specific date because it happened a lot. Energy had named Enderman in boats at his base and at his medieval build too. And every time someone looked at the Enderman, whether on purpose or by accident, Energy would react to it. His unclaimed base getting griefed. This also happened quite a few times. Most notably, there was a griefing incident in early November 2024. After the claim reset, while he did reclaim his land, it wasn't fully or properly claimed. Because of relative inactivity on the server back then, his base stayed safe for a long time, but eventually, someone broke in and killed all his villagers. Egalt. This refers to an Egalt image put in front of Energy's base next to Lego's memes, and he sent these messages on Discord thinking Lego was the culprit. Egg puns. In the last few months of 2024, Eggroseat and Energy were both very active, and whenever they were online at the same time, they would basically argue about literally anything for fun. Egg would also make a lot of egg puns, which, by the way, I think those are very funny. But Energy would act extremely unamused and crash out over the puns. Being told off for taking Red's fireworks. This refers to October 4th, 2025. Energy took some of Red's fireworks because he lost his own, even though he has access to my gunpowder farm to get himself more fireworks. And when we told him off for it, he got upset and disappeared. Pillagers. One of the running gags on the server is that Energy has the pillager curse, because pillager patrols kept spawning near him, and he would crash out over it on Discord. Crops unrooting due to lack of light. This is the only one that didn't happen, at least as far as I know. I just came up with something that sounded plausible because he does have crops at his base. And someone actually got tricked by this option. They were trying to do thorough research on every option, and when they came to this one, they concluded that Energy must have crashed out over crops unrooting because, as they said, these torches feel like they were placed with spite. They were so convinced about it that they didn't choose this option, despite Jopio accidentally putting the answer in chat, and I found this very funny at the time. In the end, only 5 people got this question correct, although technically it's more like 3. Lego and presumably Gumps too got the answer from Jopio. Meanwhile, Beef, Ghost, and Frostinver got this right on their first and only attempt. Matt logging out in his plot was an incident on October 10th, 2025, where Matt logged out in Energy's medieval build plot and he took issue with it, and then the whole thing kinda spiraled into some argument about AFKing and control. Kate farming mob heads on his lawn is something from all the way back in September 30th, 2024. I went to the area around Energy's base during a thunderstorm for mob heads, because it was the safest unlit area that I knew of at the time, and Energy thought I blew up his house. Spawning a wither and dying to it. That happened on August 25th, 2025. Energy died multiple times to a wither and almost rage quit the server because he thought he lost all his items. Being put in an event is about the second tournament event in September 2024 and the Battle Dome event in February 2025. Energy didn't sign up for either, but because the norm at the time was that everyone online was there to participate, so he got put into the brackets anyway, resulting in this message in the feedback channel. Dying to players. This happened so many times that I can't even name every instance. And finally, not understanding how to claim. This was August 9th, 2025, when Energy expanded his house and had to readjust his claims. He couldn't figure it out and got so frustrated that he decided to jump to his death multiple times. Alright, question 11. How did Kate get her dragon egg? The answer is the first option, gift from Egg. He gave me the dragon egg he won during the second Hunger Games event because he already had one, which he got from Lego after he won his second dragon egg during the second tournament event. This can be found in my Hunger Games 2 video at the 44-minute mark. Not much to say about the second and third option. However, the fourth one was actually really effective bait. I designed it to sound extremely plausible because I did win a build event in the past. Or technically two, but the other one was by default because only I submitted. Anyway, people would not know what prize I got for them, so they might pick this option. Question 12. Who said the term Break of Dawn Kate? And the answer is Weavy. It was in September 2025 when Jopio got like 10 people to fight the Ender Dragon in VC. I got up at 5 a.m. to play, and when I logged in, Weavy typed in chat, they call her Break of Dawn Kate. Rex's video is the intended source for this question, since my own video doesn't include that part, but many people said to me afterwards that the tone and word usage had Weavy written all over it. Oh well, I did try to bait people with Jopio as an option, because I feel like it's believable that he would say that, but I guess this one was too obvious that it was Weavy. Although, it's definitely worth noting that Weavy himself got this question wrong. He picked Jopio! Bro actually forgot what he said himself. It was literally so freaking funny. Question 13. According to Wiry Magician, how many armor stands did he use in his medieval build? The answer is 50. Not much to say about this one because I didn't make it. And to be honest, I never even verified the answer. I just added according to the question. So for this one, you would just have to guess, unless you actually went to the build plots and tried to count the armor stands, which would be pretty hard considering a lot of the armor stands are invisible. As for the other options, I just put a bunch of smaller numbers because I was banking on the fact that people might think 50 is way too many. Question 14. Who first referred to Red's base as RIP? Few people know this, but Energy is actually the one who coined the term. Not long after the group base was established, Energy made a waypoint here and named it RIP after the initials of the residents at the time. Red is an option because she founded the town. People would probably assume that she named her own base. Elixiruni is there as one of the most common evil bird bait tactics, to include some random looking name in the options to bait people into choosing it, because why else would they be specifically included if they weren't the answer? As for myself, I'm a very active player and frequent visitor of RIP, so I think it should be plausible for people to guess that I'm the one who named Red's base. Question 15. Which of the following has never happened? This question is one of my favorites from this quiz, and I'm very proud of it. Option 1. Keep inventory turned on for a month. The explanation for this option is actually kinda awkward now, because I learned more about the keep inventory lore while I was making quiz 3. Which, I mean, it doesn't make this option wrong or anything, but the wording just isn't the most accurate. But since this video was planned for January before I figured out all those details, I'm just gonna explain my original intent and thought process. Okay, so on August 23rd, 2024, Energy jumped off Lego's balcony and discovered that keep inventory was on, which made me realize that Jace must have forgotten to turn it off in the previous event. And that would be the first Hunger Games, where Jace left me in charge of the pit battles and left the game without doing the command. So, at the time of making the quiz, I thought that keep inventory was accidentally left on between the first Hunger Games on August 10th and the second TNT War on September 14th, which is approximately a month. But later on, while researching for quiz 3, I discovered that keep inventory was on for much longer than that, which makes this option a little inaccurate, but not enough to make it wrong. I will save the full explanation for the quiz 3 video though, so I don't spoil the answer to one of the quiz 3 questions. Option 2. Mob griefing turned off by accident. To my knowledge, this has never happened. Back in 2024, in the earliest days of the server, there were issues of creepers destroying blocks in claimed land, but I think it was a grief prevention plugin issue and not the mob griefing game rule. Option 3. Jace gave someone spectator mode. I'll be honest, I'm only 90% sure about this one, especially since Jace himself chose this option when he took the quiz. But let me explain. During the second Hunger Games, JD died very early on and asked to be put in spectator mode so that he could watch the rest of the game. And this is the part I'm not sure about, because I didn't actually see it happen or anything. My only indication was the fact that JD's name became grayed out and italicized in the tab list at some point. And when I looked it up, this means that the player was in spectator mode. Any other possibility, such as it being an indication of the player being AFK, is only possible with some data pack that I don't think Shintarocraft has. I guess I could have tried asking Jace or JD whether it actually happened, but yeah, in the end I just went by my own deduction. Option 4. PvP disabled in claims. This was true for a few months in 2024, and it can be seen in LEGO's event footage. For example, at the end of the first TNT war, Jace announced that PvP was now allowed, but when LEGO tried to hit me, it didn't work, because PvP was still disabled in claims. Also, in the final match of the second tournament event, I had claimed the arena to stop DC's lava cast attempt, and that resulted in LEGO and Egg being unable to fight until I deleted the claim. Later though, at some unknown point, PvP was re-enabled in claims, and that state has persisted until now. Question 16. Which sign from the Halloween treasure hunt is still intact? This one is relatively easy to research, to be honest, because you could just use my Halloween treasure hunt video to find out where each sign is and visit them on the server to check whether they are still there. The answer is Unfinished Business, a sign that can be found at the top of the old Spleef Arena. All the other signs are now gone except for this one. They were either on unclaimed land, making them prone to destruction, or they were removed by the owner of the claim. For example, where sands and frogs meet was in the middle of Jess's monastery, and it was removed at some point. Where all things end was at the top of a lava cast near my base, and it went missing after someone, presumably DC, came back to add more layers to the lava cast. And these two aren't in the options, but I will still mention them anyway. There was a word unscramble puzzle in the middle of the mangrove swamp at spawn, and at some point it disappeared, possibly destroyed by a creeper. And there was also a sign that said, "Final hint, I wanna win it all," in the stronghold connected to the Nether Highway, but it was taken down when LEGO renovated the end portal room. As for the remaining option, well, that sign is still intact on the side of my Wojira build, but it wasn't for the 2024 Halloween treasure hunt. That was for the first treasure hunt back in August 2024. To this day, that treasure hunt remains unsolved because I skipped all the steps and found the treasure in like 40 minutes and only found out about the hints on signs long after the hunt. Question 17. Which block did the dried ghast replace in the spawn library display cases? And the answer is the slime block. Honestly, unless you happened to have taken a screenshot of it, or if you somehow glimpsed it in LEGO's road trip stream at like 2 hours 48 minutes and 12 seconds, you'd pretty much have to guess for this one. The other options are basically just stuff I think would be plausible to be put on display. And also, you can actually find a sponge in the library now, just not in the display cases. They're in the item frame. There's a crown! There's a floating crown! You can actually find sponge in the library right now, just not in the display cases. It's in an item frame on the wall. So I was kind of banking on people seeing this and thinking that it was moved to the item frame to make room for the dried ghast over there. Question 18. When did DC make his first lava cast? The answer is March 22nd, 2024. Yes, DC was lava casting on literally frickin' day 1 of the server. My original intended source was LEGO's Day 1 stream, where you can see at 14 minutes and 44 seconds, DC had made a small lava cast that was already being taken down. However, Rex figured out the answer by searching on Discord. He found that Jace had actually commented on the lava casts on day 1. That was actually really smart. I didn't think of finding the answer that way. As for the other options, March 25th, 2024... You know what, I actually don't remember why I made this an option. I don't remember the significance of this date. I think Maybe I just made a date a few days into the server to bait people into thinking that DC lava casting on day 3 or so would be more believable than day 1. April 13th, 2024. I don't remember what this option was for either. If I had to guess, I think it was just the day before the first tournament event, which was also the first ever event on the server. I don't know though, it's been too long since I made the quiz. I do remember the last option though. April 19th, 2024 was the date written on the signs at the Spawn Lavacast monument. The giant Spawn Lavacast may have been created before that, but April 19th was the earliest screenshot we could find of it. However, you can disregard all that, because the giant Spawn Lavacast that most people know about is DC's second Lavacast. The first one was actually the much smaller one in the Spawn Village that can be seen in LEGO's Day 1 stream, which again was taken down almost immediately. Question 19. Who did Jace specifically say will like this next event prior to the announcement of the Halloween treasure hunt? And the answer is Egg. This question was meant to be researchable. The answer was supposed to be in my Skywars event video where Jace announced the Halloween treasure hunt. However, I only realized after the release of Quiz 2 that I had cut the recording off too early, and Jace's line never even showed up in the video, so you can only guess for this one. All the options are people who participated in both the Skywars event and the Halloween treasure hunt. I was an option because at the time of the Quiz 2 release, many active players would know that I speedran LEGO's Bobhead Hunt, so they might guess that I loved treasure hunts. Which is true, by the way, just that Jace specifically said Egg would like the hunt back then. LEGO was also an option, also because of his Mobhead Hunt, and I actually successfully baited Rex into choosing LEGO because of it. Question 20. Who is the original creator of the map with the ID number 0? Okay, this question was my absolute favorite question in Quiz 2. I did literal archaeology, digging through my chat logs and flying around the server to track down this ancient relic from the earliest days of the server. When I made Quiz 1, I thought that map ID number 1 was the first ever map on the server. But then, when I was testing the Weevil map art in single player, I discovered that map 0 is the actual first map, so I sought to track it down. But who would have the first map? I remember the conversation that I saw in chat on day 1 of the server. Someone had mentioned making the first ever server map, so I searched through my chat logs and I found the conversation. It was a player called What a Twist. What a Twist could be the original creator of map number 0. However, I still had to make sure, because it could also have been a situation where he made map number 1 and thought that it was the first. And the only way to do so was to track down the map itself. He had offered the map to Big Seal, so I searched the chests at Big Seal's base, but I didn't find the map. And as far as I know, Twist had no base on the server. The final possibility I could think of is Vera's base, because Twist was killed by Vera back on day 1. So I went over to search as a last-ditch attempt, not really expecting to find anything, because the map could have easily been thrown out and left to despawn after the kill. Vera's base claim was deleted during the Trial Chambers update, and she didn't come back to reclaim it, so I was able to access the chest. And, to my surprise, I found map 0. It was a map of the ocean at spawn, at the ocean ruins where Twist first found the map in a chest. I was right. I was frickin' right. I tracked down map 0. And even now, 5 months after the fact, I'm still so happy that I actually managed to retrieve map 0. Stop chewing! And the final question. This time I put a bonus question for fun, just to see what everyone would answer. Who was here? And if you tick the box for every single option, you would be correct. Rexter wasn't here is something you'd see on signs all over the server. However, where he was is on the back of a Rexter wasn't here sign at the public iron farm built by Jace. Caitlin Bird was here. Ant Red. So was Beef. And Egg Roast Seat, but not Rexter, is on the sign in the Jopio room under the pit arena. There wasn't really any logic to this bonus question, to be honest. I just wanted somewhere to put some of my favorite player sign interactions, especially the one in the Jopio room. Everyone contributing to the sign was so funny. This is one of the reasons why I love multiplayer, because you can't get something like this in a single player world. It's literally so amazing. I love Shintarocraft so much. Anyways, now that we've gone over all the questions, let's take a look at the results. The winner of Quiz 2 turned out to be Lego, who got a really high score of 85 points, and he asked for a knockback 3 stick as a prize after I said no to giving him Quiz 3 answers. Gumps got second place, which sounds surprising, but to be fair, I think most of his answers came from Jopio, who retook the test a few times and figured out most of the answers. This time, most people scored between 15 to 40 points, which is lower than last time. Honestly, I had intended for Quiz 2 to be easier, having a heavier focus on more recent history, but I guess it was still too hard. I had also wanted more questions to be researchable, because I was really impressed by the thorough research some people did for Quiz 1. And also, where's the fun in just blind guessing the whole time? But even though most questions do have a researchable source, I think I know why they are still too difficult to answer. The thing is, despite research being allowed, a lot of these questions rely on you already knowing or at least vaguely remembering the trivia I'm asking about. Otherwise, you might not even know where to start looking for an answer. For example, if you had never happened to see the book The Tomb in the Spawn Library, you wouldn't even know that the answer to question 7 about the Sniffer King is there. It's all clear to me as the quiz maker writing the questions based on my knowledge and experiences. But for everyone else taking the quiz, it would be so much harder, because you might not even know that a source existed at all, so you can only guess. So don't feel too bad about the scores. Most people got around the same amount of points, and this evil quiz was meant to be impossible to pass after all. Lastly, before I end the video, at the time of release, Quiz 3 will have been out for a few months already, and the fourth and final quiz will be open too. I'll start working on the explanation videos for both much sooner than before, so if you haven't taken the quizzes yet, feel free to do so. The link will be in the description. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or suggestions about the quizzes, and if not, I'll see you in the Quiz 3 video. Also, shout out to Mr. Lego Lover 55 and Red Ninja Red for helping me with making the epic intro. Thank you guys so much. And thank you guys for watching the video.